are going to cover the Oracle VirtualBox. We will go through the download and the installation of VirtualBox. Now, as I said previously, the Oracle VirtualBox is a virtual environment which allows you to run a multiple operating system on the same hardware. There are other virtual platform that is available out there that you could use. You don't have to go with VirtualBox if you don't like it. You could use VMware Player, VMware Player Workstation, as well as other open source virtual environment. But anyway, I would prefer if you stick with Oracle VirtualBox, so this way we could go through the course together. Alright, so I will go open up my Firefox browser so I could download the VirtualBox software. You could use any browser you like. Then I'm going to the Google page, and in the Google page I'm searching for Oracle VirtualBox. When you click on it, you're going to see the first link as Oracle VM VirtualBox. So you could click on it and then go to download, or you could go straight to the download page. Alright, on the download page you're going to see the section where it says VirtualBox version platform packages. Now, depending on when you are downloading this VirtualBox, the version will be higher, maybe 1, 2, or whichever the version at that time you're downloading. It doesn't matter. Don't be confused. Oh, the one I am showing you is 6.0 and the one you are seeing is a different version. Basically, what we want at the end is a virtual platform that we could run our guest instances or guest operating system on. Anyway, if you are using the Windows as your main host where you will run the Linux CentOS as a VM, then pick Windows host. If you are using OS X host, meaning if you are using Apple, then you could use this one. For Linux, for Solaris, for other operating systems, you could pick depending on your requirement of your actual operating system. Go ahead and click on Windows host, because I am running Windows host and that's where I'm going to run my VirtualBox. Now here it is asking me to save the file, and you could click, but I'm not going to click to save the file because I have already saved it to save some time. So if you have not saved it previously, so go ahead and click on this and it will ask you to the location to save it. So I'm going to cancel it since, as I said, I have already saved it. Alright, I have my VirtualBox executable saved on my desktop, and here is the executable. All I have to do is go ahead and double click so it could start the installation. So once you double click on it, it will ask you, do you want to run this file? Click on run. Okay, now the wizard has started. It says, welcome to the Oracle VM VirtualBox 6.0.14 setup wizard. This setup wizard will install Oracle VM VirtualBox on your computer. Click next to continue or cancel to exit the setup wizard. Go ahead and click next. Select the way you want features to be installed. So by default, the VirtualBox application has been selected, and the other features that comes with it, I'm going to leave everything at default. And it also tells you the version installing the feature requires 227 megabyte that you should have on your disk. So go ahead and click next. Please choose from the options below. Create start menu entry, create a shortcut on desktop, create a shortcut on quick launch bar, register file association. I like them all, leave them default, except I don't like create a shortcut in quick launch bar. So I'm going to uncheck it. Again, that's my preference. You can leave all of them selected. Click next. Warning network interface. Installing the Oracle VM VirtualBox networking feature will reset your network connection and temporarily disconnect you from the network. Proceed with installation. So that's fine. So make sure you are not connected to the internet, or if you are, make sure you're not doing any type of work that you will lose. So go ahead and click yes, and click install to begin the installation. Install. am going to fast forward at this part because I don't want you to wait. I don't want to waste your time. So I'm going to just simply fast forward. Okay, so the Oracle VM VirtualBox installation is complete. You can leave the check mark so it'll start it back up, and you could click on Finish. Congratulations, you have completed the download and the installation of Oracle VirtualBox. Now the next step is to create a test virtual machine, and then of course we will go ahead and do the actual operating system install on that virtual machine. Hello everyone, in this lecture we are going to create a virtual machine on our VirtualBox, the VirtualBox application that we have downloaded in the previous lecture, and now I'm going to show you how you could create a virtual machine. So I'm going to start up the VirtualBox. This is what I have it open already, and the version that I'm using for the VirtualBox is, when you go to Help and click on About VirtualBox, is VirtualBox 6.0. If you're using a little later version or updated version, that is perfectly fine. Every version would just work fine. Now, as an example, as a test, we are going to create a new virtual machine. So I want you to go ahead and click on a New. And here I want you to type, for example, my Linux VM. So now as you type this, it's going to tell you where it's going to save the information of the Linux machine. So it picked up this location by default. Next one, it says the type. The type is Linux, of course, because I have typed the name, it automatically picked it up that it's assuming there's a Linux machine, and the version is Linux 2.634, or whichever version, and it says 64-bit. Now, if your computer right now, or your virtual machine setting is showing 32-bit, which is this, and you do have a 64-bit operating system, then what you need to do is you need to enable virtualization technology in your BIOS setting. So again, if it is showing 32-bit, then first thing you need to confirm is that your computer that where you're running this VirtualBox actually is 64. So I could confirm by going into my computer. I could go into my computer right here, right click on it, go to Properties, and in my computer properties you're going to see that I have a system type as 64-bit operating system. So if this is your system type is showing right now 64-bit operating system, and you're still seeing this version showing up as 32-bit, then it means that you have to go into your computer BIOS setting to enable virtualization. And how to do that, I have included an article in this lecture in the description that will make you go through how you could enable that. Anyway, so once you have it enabled, go to reboot your machine and it will show up as 64-bit. Now the next thing is you need to define the memory. Memory is the memory of your virtual machine. It's just like if you are going to a store, right? Let's say if you're going to Best Buy or any computer store, and you pick up the laptop or computer and you ask how much memory it has. This is exact same way that you are doing, but the difference is that now you are the manufacturer. You are the one who is putting in the memory inside of your computer. By default, I'm going to leave it as 1024 megabyte, which is 1 gig. The next part is hard disk. Create a virtual hard disk now. Leave that as default and click on Create. Then it says the file size here is 8 gig by default. It's picking it up. I want you to pick 10 gig, just to make sure we have enough space when we are going through all the exercises of our training. Alright, so then hard disk file type is VDI, virtual box disk image, which is by default is the right file type, so leave that as is. Storage on physical hard disk, dynamically allocated, leave that as default as well. If you need to know more about it, what's the difference between each one of them, I'm sure you could go and click on guided mode, or you could also look it up online on the difference of each of these hard disk type. Go ahead and click create. And now you're going to see right here, it's going to show you my Linux VM and its configuration or specification of that VM. The general information showing up here, the system information is up here, the display, storage, audio, network, USB, shared folders, all that. It is just like as if you have an actual machine. So anyway, you have created your virtual machine. This is the lecture I wanted to go through, how you could create a virtual machine. When I am going to go through the next lecture where we will do the actual CentOS or Linux installation, then I will ask you to create the virtual machine again. So for this lab purposes, just go ahead, click on the machine, then right click and click on remove. And then just click on delete all files. Beautiful. Alright, so that was just an exercise. Let's move on. Hello everyone, let's get into the fun part where we will do the Linux download and installation. And for the installation that I have picked is a CentOS operating system. CentOS operating system is just like a Red Hat operating system, and it's a free and I would definitely recommend you using CentOS for this course, because a lot of companies out there that use a Red Hat for their corporate environment. Now for the version part, I am using CentOS 7. There's also a version 8 that is out there already. If you want to use version 8, you can. That is perfectly fine, because my course follow both 7 and 8. But my recommendation is that you stick with 7, because a lot of companies, I would say 95 to 99% of them, are still using older versions like 5, 6, and 7. So it will take them at least 3-4 years to get onto 8. So if you're in the job market or you want to get into the job market, I would recommend you that you stick to 7. Now, for those who wants to go with the Red Hat 8 or CentOS 8, perfectly fine. You could skip this lecture and go to the very next lecture, which has CentOS 8 instructions for download installation. Alright, without further ado, let me get into the download part. So for the download, what you have to do, you